Bhagavad Gita, based on my paintings, very humble presentation on my understanding of each chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Every chapter had picked up one verse depicted with my understanding through a painting. I'll explain the core of that chapter, sync with that painting. Chapter 1 is all about body over soul. It's about the dilemma in the material world. Arjuna, representing the human form, is worried. He is reluctant to fight or do his duty to avoid killing of near and dear. He felt that it is a bad karma and it will lead to unwanted things in the future, and he don't want to become the person responsible for all the happenings based on this in future. That's where the dilemma of body first over the soul comes in. In verse 35, Arjuna actually talks about it in saying that teachers, fathers, everyone are there. Why should I kill? Why should I fight? And he just puts his bow and arrow and puts his head down, and he said he will walk over and lose his life rather than killing everyone. The painting depicts the common human concern about life. Why the sufferings? Why I need to be part of the actions to bring in sufferings? The tree in the center, depicted of the human figure, immobile because of all the sufferings it's seeing across the world, it represents the Arjuna. And all the big elderly people and many others in the background, he is worried that he is going to kill. Why he need to do that? The knowledge that there is a soul which is more important and which is above our head and connected to the spirit, represented by that white light above his head, he is unaware of. And he is unaware of the two broad eyes of the God Supreme Krishna, overseeing the entire world. He is unaware of. The painting depicts we human in the form of Arjuna in the first chapter worry about the body and body suffering and the impact of it, than seeing the larger picture of we, our soul, connected to the big, the supreme, and also the supreme oversees the entire happenings in the world. That's what the painting depicts about the core of the chapter 1. Chapter 2 is about practicing of yoga of detachment, the path towards the first step towards the spiritual life, as explained by Krishna, based on the despair spelled out by Arjuna. The purpose of this chapter is to ensure that we don't get carried away by the senses, because the senses are non-permanent. Distress of happiness, sadness, it will change like winter and summer season. Matras pasastu kundayasi doshana shukadukkata agama vayunontya tam tiriksava bharata. The purpose of this verse of 14 is to ensure that one must learn to tolerate these senses without being disturbed. And getting absorbed with the senses is the cause for death and life, the cyclic world which we are into, for which we need to ensure we perform the duty and perform the yoga, either it is knowledge of self, the Sankhya Yoga, or perform the simple duty and action given to us, the Karma Yoga, by means of controlling the self and being self-disciplined. The painting which is depicted here shows different seasons, colors in the mountain range and also in the terrain, showing that varied season gives varied colors similar to the varied senses. And tortoise is an example of life where it goes into the shell when it is required to protect, and it comes out when it is conducive. So let's ensure that shell is above us to ensure that we are not carried away by the senses, and be self-disciplined and detach ourselves from the sense requirement for this world. That's what the painting depicts for this verse and this chapter. Chapter 3 is about yoga of action, which is karma yoga, discharging one's duties perfectly. What Krishna says in verse 21, there are great people, yogis, great persons who are born in this world, who followed this path and show us a path on what to do in life. What a normal person needs to do is just follow that and ensure that live that trait of exemplary act which has been shown by great people. The right action by the great men are the one which we need to follow, and to perform the action perfectly without bothering about what is the impact of that action, and devote that impact to the God. And Krishna also introduced the three gunas, the sattvic, rajas and tamas. Sattvic being the pure, the rajas being the passion and anger, and tamas being the dark and destruction. Being sattvic is more important to be very calm and cool. Warrior like Arjuna, his duty is to fight for the right. And similarly, for every person, the duty is to perform what's been given to him to the best of its effort. The painting depicts one of the great men who was born in this world, Ramanuja. There are many such great men who are born in this world to show us the path of spiritual freedom. This person has ensured that even irrespective of the class and caste, everybody should know the secret of life, secret of truth, and follow the spiritual paths. And that's how we need to follow the great gurus or great men who perform the duty perfectly and discharge our duties perfectly, irrespective of the impact of it. That's what the chapter 3 talks about, karma yoga. The chapter 4 talks about the yoga of wisdom, which is more about understanding the soul of us and the soul of Supreme. Both are one and the same. And we are a fragment of the Supreme Soul. Even if we are considered to be the most sinful of sinners, and if we have the transcendental knowledge that we are part of the Supreme Soul, we will be able to sail over the troubles in life. That's what the painting also depicts, the verse. The turbulent sea, turbulent weather, and the boat is sailing irrespective of all the difficulties and trying to reach the destination because of the steady state of mind devoted to the action and devoted to the God as one supreme, and the self is also the representative of that. God is both the actor and the action. If we know that, then we will be able to be calm and do our duties perfectly. Wisdom is an outcome of action, and it requires sometimes a guidance with great people. And the right actions and knowledge of self by controlling the senses is the ultimate path towards the success in the spiritual life. The chapter 5 is about the yoga of renunciation. It's actually the path of wisdom. In verse 10, Krishna says, abandoning all the attachment and remain untouched by sin, just like a lotus in the dirty water remains untouched by the dirt, and also the leaf untouched by the dirty water. That's how the life need to be, untouched by all the things which are around. The path of action, whether you take a direct path of action by means of karma or the path of renunciation, merging with God by means of worship, both is going to lead to the path of renunciation. The ignorance of self is the primary reason for bad action, and Always consider the path of the wise men, that everyone is same, every human being is same, and every life is same. Path of knowledge or path of action. Any path which we take is going to lead to God if we do it in perfection and purity. The painting depicts the verse with the dirty black color water and lot of dirt around it. The flowers bloom in the garden, in the water, and they give the splendor, beauty of color, beauty of fragrance, and they remain as they are, facing the sun, the purest form of energy. So that's what the chapter is about. God is the beneficiary, and the yoga of renunciation is the path of wisdom towards which we need to walk along. The chapter 6 is about yoga of meditation, dhyana yoga. It's more about the faith and service to God. It's about the inner self control through meditation. It's about living a life of sattvic, moderate sleep, moderate eating, moderate in case of everything. Be calm and be peaceful. The yoga by meditation actually free the self from all the sense attractions in the world. Faith is critical, the self-discipline is critical, relate to the Supreme Soul is critical. And practicing this and loving Krishna and worshipping Him as the one Supreme God will lead us towards this. The verse 19 talk about a lamp in a windless place, don't even waver. The transcendence of the mind, when it is controlled, remain like a lamp in a windless place. The painting depicts an earthen lamp with the lamp glowing, and also it shows one of the demigod. There are many demigods, and this lamp shows the demigod of Ganesh, the remover of obstacles. But the supreme soul of everything, the Lord Krishna, who takes care of this entire world, is what we should meditate and have the faith and serve and ensure the yoga of meditation give us success. The chapter 7 is about wisdom and realization. It's about an absolute that God is the ultimate governing principle of the world. God is the original fragrance of everything. Krishna is the fragrance of everything. He is the earth, He is the heat, He is the life, He is the fragrance, He is everything in this world. He gives this world and He also takes back it. And He is the foundation of this universe. And once we worship Krishna and feel that He is all, we will reach what is the ultimate goal of life, back to the garden. The super soul is same as the self. Once that realization come, that governing principle come into picture, we'll be able to live in this world peacefully. The painting depicts a flowery garden with full of fragrance, with the red flower showing the brightness and heatness of the world, the white flower showing the beauty and the fragrance and all the activities around it, with the birds, insects. So all these things, everything comes from Him and everything surrenders to Him. And the wisdom and realization of this governing principle is what will make us perfect in life. The chapter 8 is about absolute freedom. It's about devotional service to attain the Supreme. The freedom comes from devotional service. Thinking at the time of death also, the God, that's what we will become in, going towards Him. Meditate Him and think all the time, because we don't know when the death will come. So thinking of Him, meditating Him is what will lead us to a better and prospective path of good towards God. For God, all the 4 billion years in which each yuga is being there for each billion years is one day, and He creates it and He takes it back. And it's important to meditate on that big Almighty, the Supreme Soul. The yogic situation in verse 12 talks about the detachment, engagement. closing the door of senses and fixing the mind above the head, connecting to the super soul, and thereby reaching the spiritual planet. The painting depicts the complexity of this world with green, which is mountain and water and all kind of pleasant things, and red and yellow, the sand and all kind of heat and troubles in this world. The cyclic world, the life goes in and out. Once you put your hand up and concentrate on the card and super soul, connect it above the head, and the soul gets connected and go back to the place from where it originated. That's what it is about in this. It's about absolute of freedom by devotional service. The chapter 9 is about what is the life and what is the secret of life. It's nothing but the confidential knowledge of what is God and be absorbed in God. All beings come from Him, all go back to Krishna. He gives the heat, He provides the rain, He is immortal, He is all, He is death personified. He is the person who is in essence of all existence, the spirit, the matter, everything. All the action we perform with love and worship of Him is what going to make us go and join with Him. The painting depicts the earth shown in different layers, the center core with heat, then there is a water and land mass, then there is an ice cover, then the mountains and the spirit surrounding everything and getting connected to the Supreme Being, and it comes from there and it goes back to there. The secret of life, knowing that God is all and being absorbed in the God in all about what we do. Chapter 10 is about the ultimate different forms the God take in this world, the absolute, the beauty of it, and how the spark gets generated into multiple stuff. It's about the manifestation of diverse manifestation of the God. The great sages came from Him. The mankind came from the living beings, the mountains, the rivers. Everything is from Him and everything will go back to Him. The painting depicts the sages, the great demigods, the fire, the mountains, the animal forms, the human forms, the kings, the land mass, the water, everything originate from the super soul and super source and go back to that. The worshipping Krishna will free us from the cyclic of death and birth. Krishna is the limitless form. His worship can be of two types, either be understanding the God and be the yoga of understanding, or continue to do the action with the yoga of action, focusing meditation on self, because ultimately the self is supreme, connected to the Supreme Soul. So the understanding the all manifestations and opulence of absolute will keep us calm and take us a path towards the next step in our life. The chapter 11 is about the cosmic vision, the universal form, the all-inclusive form of the Lord Krishna. It's engaging in devotional service is only way we will be able to see the all-inclusive form of Krishna and get submerged in that. The demigods, the sages, the man, human being, the demons, the kings, everyone originate from Him, goes back to Him. He is the God who makes us the life and ensure that all the living beings comes back to Him. The ultimate form, all in one. He is the death. He is also the human form. We worship as deity in the all across temples. He is all inclusive, serene. The painting depicts that universal form with all inclusive gods, 1,000 arms of demigods, all celestial bodies, everything included. Understanding this and being gentle and being very, very humble and being light-hearted understanding that we are a small speck in the whole action of that great super soul, and connecting with that super soul to go back to his is what the only role of human being in life. The chapter 12 talk about yoga of devotion. It's about bhakti yoga, the critical path in this Kali Yuga to attain the God. Those worship the God, all their activities towards God and devoted to Him and engaged in Him service, God will take him out of the cycle of birth and death. The devotion to Krishna, meditating on Him, donating whatever we have physically to the well-being of the godly service, and unmoved by the pain and sorrow and happiness, and being equanimous and being same to everyone, irrespective of his layer in the society, being kind and being love and devoted to the godly service is what the Bhakti Yoga is about. Chanting the mantras, chanting the God names. The painting top shows the idols of Puri Jagannath with lot of people chanting and dancing and fully devoted to the service of the God. And that's the only way, Bhakti Yoga, we move to the next step in our life. Chapter 13 is about the field and the knower of the body and the body itself. God is the knower, He is the ultimate. The object of knowledge is understanding the supreme reality and understanding the self and relating to others, relating to the supreme reality. The nature create activity in the body, but the self, which is the soul, should be separated out and kept away with irrespective of the nature and the body, to ensure it's connected always to the Supreme Soul. There are working senses, there are knowledge senses, there are object senses, there are modes of nature. How we get completely attached from our heart, where the soul resists, to the super soul, is where our connect will improve. The painting depicts the underwater world with microorganisms, to the urchins, to the sharks, and to the small fishes, depicting 3 modes of nature in 3 urchins, 5 senses in the form of the shark, and 24 manifestation around the small fishes, and even the unicellular organism as the heart with the of Lord Krishna, and similar to the Supreme Soul in the center, connecting that self to the soul by dissociating with all those sense objects is where our knowing the body and knower of the body will come into play. The chapter 14 talks about the 3 gunas, the material nature in which God is the only happiness, but there are 3 gunas which every human being demonstrate. The sattva guna, attaching knowledge and joy and thinking about the God. The raja guna, which is about passion and action. And tamaguna, which is about laziness and sleep. Gunas are the one which will recreate a person into the next form of life, going out of it and only seeking the God's knowledge and ultimately seeking His abode by means of true sacrifice is the way in which we get out of it. Because all the 3 modes, like the painting depicts, 3 flower pot in the window, in the grill, one without flower, one with partial flower, and another with full flowers. That's what the goodness, passion, and ignorance is about. But all of them are inside the grill and within a restricted environment of birth and death. To go out of it and to get out of this and get into the complete happiness is what the bhakti and the follow the path of yoga of knowledge or yoga of karma will take us to the ultimate goal of reaching the God. The chapter 15 is about ultimate person, and the secret knowledge in this world. God resides in all, and He is the essence of universe, and searching Him and attaining Him is the yoga of supreme. The supreme abode of God doesn't require any sun, moon, and others. It is always luminous, always bright, and it creates everything around us. The canvas, acrylic canvas, shows the supreme abode in the center, surrounded by jewel-like lightings and all planets and everything, lighting and keeping it in all its glory, all its beauty. Being disciplined and being completely on worship is the one path in which the God gives us the energy to move towards closer to the supreme abode. Searching the essence of universe to attain that where God resides is the yoga of supreme, is the yoga where we move and we aim to move, the purpose of life. The chapter 16 talks about the nature of demonic and divine nature in human being. Why the human form gets differentiated because of this nature. Self-realization of the nature is critical. So the enlightened or divine form will always have a love, always like a sage-like life, pure, has full of integrity, full of worship. The demonic form is more about the ignorance, anger, passion, lust, greed. How we dissociate that and ensure how we perform the self-realization to attain the supreme destination is about understanding the self, the difference between the demonic and divine nature. The painting shows two birds, one without any beauty, without anything, but free at heart, completely attached and self-realized, fly freely, and another having all earthly beauties and associated and completely grounded to the reality on the ground, on the earth, but still sad because not attained that supreme knowledge of the self-realization of what life is all about. The chapter 17 talks about the three kinds of faith: the sattvic, rajic, and tamasic faith, going into the detail of it and the importance of the devotional service and charity. The verse talks about the desiring of fruits, results, performing sacrifices true to the absolute nature to please the supreme God is the only way we can get rid of all this material related stuff. The sattvic is worshipping God and having a fresh food, having no desire, and doing charities, what is good for the godly stuff. Rajik is about the demigod, worshipping and having bitter and sour food, having pride and self-esteem to feel that we are great. Tamas is about worshipping the spirit and bland and stale foods, and more about gaining own and then doing charity for bad things. It's important to understand the Om, Tat, and Sat, which is also explained in this chapter. Everything of sattvic and godly thing starts with Om, this all inclusive syllable, the godly syllable. And Tat is looking for the absolute, the God, and then ensuring the correct actions are taken. That's all. The scriptures, having faith in the scriptures, having faith in the past knowledges, and performing actions based on that will lead towards this path. The painting shows the lovely nature which is surrounding the world with a lot of greenery and water. And the nature gives everything to us, and it interconnects itself for the selfless sacrifice. One of the nature form is also shown in the kind of a hand. The 18th chapter is about the freedom, ultimate freedom of renunciation and surrender to God. Complete surrender and always thinking of God. The eyes, you can see the feet of the God, and completely a grim faced, meditating and completely connecting to the God without affected by the senses. That's what is Gita all about. That's what the wonderful gift given by the God to us to lead us to a pleasant life. Thanks for listening to this humble words. Apology for anything wrong which I have said and not understood it, but clearly it's more about depicting this in my simple painting and also giving an overview of the great, sacred, and holy book of the Indian spiritual way of life. Thank you.